Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrio Radio. Around the world today here on Real Terrio Radio.
Hello and welcome to Around the World Today with me, Terry Davis, here on Real Terrio. So today we're going to talk about the legal system and contempt and court and so on. So there's been much news around the UK over the last weekend about contempt of court, freedom of speech, just to name a few. And I'm not going to mention particular people or cases because I don't agree with them. But we're going to talk about the law. Well, as far as the law is concerned, it's not for us to change the law unless we are elected by the country to change the law. As an elected official, our Houses of Parliament change and make law. So unless you're a representative of these Houses of Parliament, so an MP, even to appoint an Assembly member here in Wales, or a member of the Scottish Parliament, or even the Northern Ireland Chamber, or one of the legislative councils. It's not for us to make the law, the people, and choose which law that we're going to follow and which law we're going to pass. Just as which, it's not for a judge to change the law. A judge only looks at a case based on the facts that have been put in front of him or her. So a judge is unbiased and shouldn't be taking a side of one person over another. A judge keeps impartial for that reason. A jury is the same. So interfering a jury by putting many, many different videos up on Facebook, on Twitter, all over the news, can actually start to interfere the case. Meaning that a criminal could get off with what they're being tried for. So a person in this country has been found in contempt of court. Now, contempt of court, is breaching a court order, or even if you stand up and say the judge is a knob, basically, you are in contempt of court, and it is up to that judge how, if it's in a courtroom itself, the judge can sentence you without a case and can hold you into prison until you purge your contempt, I believe it's called. However, in certain circumstances, if you breach an order of the court, you can be held and tried, and you have to have a case in front of that judge, and then that judge will decide if that person is guilty or not. It's called a summary trial. However, you do have the right, I believe, for a jury trial, or to opt for a jury trial, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now, contempt of court is a crime of ignoring a court on its constitutional role. So this is set out in our UK constitution, that, how a court works. And like I said, judges are not since the 2009 when we had the Supreme Court. Before the Supreme Court was constituted, all law lords, as they were called then, were members of the House of Lords. However, since 2009, no member of Parliament should be a member of the judiciary. No member of the House of Lords should be a member of the judiciary. So, they've separated the roles, basically. I do believe there are a few who are members of the Lords, but they sit as crossbenchers, not as party members, and they don't vote on legal matters, I believe, but don't hold me to a word with that. This is more of a rant today as well. I don't know if you've got that from the podcast. So why wasn't it... People are saying, oh, well, if you listen to these people, and I believe they're called gammon, Now, I love gambling and bacon, as more of the next person. But if you listen to them, their excuse falls on deaf ears. They try and use religion. They try and use what a person looks like. They even try and use disability. They even try and use sexuality. But my thing is, when did this country's law system become that of Nazi Germany's? When a judge sits in front, and this is how a judge used to do it in Germany, they used the law to be able to lock you up. So if you were Jewish, if you were gay, if you had a disability, or so on, a judge in Nazi Germany could lock you up. And their excuse was, and there was a trial, and there is a film on YouTube called The Trial of the Judges, I believe, and I will put a link to that on the blog. But yeah, they follow the law. But however, in this country, a judge doesn't care if you're Christian, if you're gay, if you're a Muslim, if you're brown, if you're red, if you're yellow, if you're green, if you vote Conservative, if you vote Labour, if you vote for the, I don't know, I'm a raving mad loony party. A judge only cares about justice, and that justice is going to be followed, and the law to the letter is followed in that case. Now, yeah, you can appeal. If you don't agree with a decision in this country, you can appeal. Also, these people are like, oh, it's a government conspiracy. But the government doesn't control the judiciary. The judiciary are a separate entity. Yes, they're a government organisation, but they're separate from all government control. It's not the government who says which judge is going to be appointed. It's actually the Queen. Yeah, so it's quite, the Chancellery Department gives the Queen advice, and then she makes the decision. Quite simple, isn't it? However, all judges also swear an oath of allegiance to the Queen and not to the government. So, question again, how is it a government conspiracy? May I remind these fools who are sticking up for this idiot that on Saturday, when they were protesting, how much money it would have cost to police that protest. At a time when London's police service are actually on their knees because of budget cuts of successive governments. So, yeah, it's quite good. Now, this fool, whose name I'm not mentioning, as I've said, already was on a suspended sentence. Now, by law, if you're on a suspended sentence, you commit a crime, and a judge says you committed a crime, you go straight back to prison. And in this case, that's what happened. He went straight back to prison to start his first sentence. His first sentence is to 18 months. Now, he's been given 10 months and 3 months for breaching the original order, on top of his 18 months, because he was on a suspended sentence and he's now starting to serve said sentence. Oh, suspended sentences are so fun, aren't they? So that means that idiot's now gone away for a couple of years. God bless the justice system. Now, back to what I was saying. Put yourself in the judge's view. You might not agree with the law yourself, however, you know that the law is there, and you've sworn an oath to uphold and protect the law of this country. Do you, do you break the law that you've sworn to uphold, that it's your job, or do you actually allow the person, or do you follow the law? Like I said, it's not even for judges to decide which law we can break and which law we can't. It's actually for our elected officials. This is why a member of parliament cannot be a member of the judiciary. It becomes a big conflict of interest. Can you imagine it? A court case heard by the member of parliament, who happens to be the Prime Minister. Could you imagine Theresa May hearing a court case? No. I don't think so, somehow. I believe, yes, Parliament, both Houses of Lords and the Houses of Parliament have the right to try cases. But this is done in front of the Speaker of the House. Not in front of and every MP gets a vote as a jury. It isn't done in front, behind closed doors. However, in cases which involve children in the United Kingdom or vulnerable people, there is normally a blanket on reporting. Now, reporting about the case. So reporting that a defendant has turned up to court, such as what happened in the Rolf Harris trial, is a big conflict, because that one is a bit different to these cases that they're hearing right now. And the case hasn't finished, so I'm not going to talk about specific court cases. There are children involved, there are vulnerable people, and I understand that, legally speaking, we have to protect the anonymity of these people. We also have to protect the anonymity of the jury. The jury have a right to, a jury are picked on the grounds that they don't know about the topic, they don't know the person being tried, or the people being tried, and they don't know the judge, and they don't, do you know what I mean? So their anonymity is kept all the way. They don't read about the topic, or anything like that. They're actually told not to read, or to listen to any newspapers. Now, if you try and, if you even show pictures of the jury, that's a criminal offence, because a jury have the right to be, to be private. At the end of the day, it's a legal right. It's been set up for jury trials for years. Well, like I said, we don't live in Nazi Germany. These people are like, oh, well, he's been taken down. Well, for a person to be put into prison, first the prisoner governor won't accept a prisoner without a writ of habeas corpus, signed by a judge. So, this person, he would have, the case would have come in front of a judge. A writ of habeas corpus would have been issued, he would have been arrested, and then taken to prison. Now, without that writ of habeas corpus, what actually it's saying is that the government can pick you up off the street and put you into prison. No, they can't. In this country, you have to have that writ to be able to start the sentence. Yes, you can be held if there's grounds to hold you, such as you're going to do a runner or something like that, you can be held in our courts, in our prisons. But then you still have a writ issued against you. You can appeal any court case to a higher court, all the way up to the Supreme Court. And up until March of next year, you can go all the way to the EU Human Court, Court of Human Rights. Go figure. I just find it repugnant that these right-wing nuts are trying to stick up for a person, firstly, whose name it isn't that they're reporting. His name isn't even that. Secondly, he has a criminal record like there's no tomorrow for thuggery, football violence, and actually being a crook and committing fraud. And thirdly, he's a fool. I just had to vent about it, and I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, comment below, or comment on our Facebook page, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrio Radio. Around the world today here on Real Terrio Radio.